Welcome to the Elevated Experience, where we feature local fitness, medical, and business professionals to bring you a higher level of content.
I mean, if you had to say, what is it that you don't like about CrossFit or love?
Like I don't love CrossFit because it's hard, but like CrossFit, again, I think I use that methodology sometimes, with patients that are coming from here or somewhere else, but even someone who's not in that community and in that group fitness yet, because sometimes as I'm going along a plan of care, I start to learn their preferences for exercise. And what I tell people a lot, what CrossFit or Fit Edge or some of the other things here and at any number of gyms, they're really super good at being an efficient way to get your activity minutes that you need. And what I tell every single person that walks through our doors is, I don't care how you do it, but I want your heart rate up, zone 2 or higher, for 150 minutes a week, and I want you to lift weights twice a week. How you get there and how that looks to you, I don't care. I would like you to do the activity that you love. If you're doing those two things, all-cause mortality decreases. You are less likely to die from anything. Just why can anyone do it, and why is it safe and effective when done appropriately for everyone? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because that's what gets people in, and then once they take that first step, I think you told me the very first time we met, you're like, I drank the Kool-Aid. Right? Like you get into the community and you get into the point where you're like, yeah, I can see what the benefit is here, obviously physically and mentally and stuff, but your guys' crew that you have here and your culture and your, what you've built in this place, that's important for everyone too. A lot of the people that are coming to us that come here, we're trying to get them back here as soon as possible because they are lacking community at that point.
Well, and it's funny, everybody says that CrossFit's dangerous, everyone gets hurt in CrossFit, and I think to anyone's point, there's a lot of runners that suffer from runner's knee, and ankle plantar fasciitis, the list goes on, right? But the thing about it is people in CrossFit, they want to get back in the gym, so they're going to do the things to get back in the gym. They're going to go to the doctor, they're going to go to the physical therapist, they're going to do the things to take care of themselves. So, it's no surprise that doctors here, someone say, I do CrossFit. Whereas the person that may not care whether they get back into the gym and do some of the things, they may just deal with the pain and not go to the doctor, or do anything and everything that doesn't hurt it, which is fine too. But I just think that people that do CrossFit, I know myself personally, the last thing I want to do is be removed from the community and the thing that I love to do. So the first thing I would do is, if I was dealing with anything, is seek out someone like you to steer me in the right direction.
Right.
I absolutely love that, David. One of the things that I really love about CrossFit is that it shows myself, it shows our members that they can do hard things.
Yeah.
That, if you can get through one of these hard workouts and challenge yourself, the real challenges aren't in here. The real challenges we face in our lives are really out there. Stressors, we're all under a lot of stress. We all have crazy lives and families and jobs, and the list goes on. So when you can get through a hard workout in here, you have so much more patience, and the ability to get through hard things in life just becomes a lot more tolerable. And the reality of it is it's really only as hard as you make it, right? So we try to encourage our athletes, if you're having a day where you didn't sleep the greatest, or maybe you are under a lot of stress at work, or, your kids kept you up all night, or you're on your third workout for the week and you don't want to skip a day, but maybe you got to pull back today. We always encourage our members, maybe today isn't the day to go at 100%. It's okay to have those days where you just kind of go a little bit easier, If you're that person that needs that adrenaline rush all the time, we can help you with that too.
Right. And I like that too, because the way that we teach people to lift, when they're an active PT patient or if they're a client of ours, is how do you auto-regulate your working out? Because you can make it as hard or as easy as you want. You get to be in the driver's seat, whether you're in a CrossFit class or not. CrossFit, obviously, there's a class, there's a certain amount of things that are, prescribed and stuff, but you can modify any one of those things. And you can modify the intensity, you can modify the movement, you can modify anything you want about CrossFit and make it fit where you're at. So you can be in the middle of an active rehab phase and still come to class. And we encourage that as soon as possible, if it's something that we can do at all.
Movement is medicine, right?
Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to touch on that you said was that, everything out there, life is the hard stuff, right? We tell people that all the time. Make your training harder than your life. So then life is easy, right? Obviously from a physical standpoint, but if you are mentally challenged in your workouts, you don't have as much of that challenge or as much of a challenge dealing with those things outside of here.
That's right. You're a lot more apt to handle those pressures and react appropriately.
Right.
I think one of the most common misconceptions about CrossFit is that we're always just out here in the gym trying to do things as fast as we can, with no concern for form and technique. And yeah, a lot of people see the games, the CrossFit games on TV, or maybe they see a commercial, or maybe they just heard a story from somewhere. But the way the CrossFit methodology works is we challenge ourselves to this fine line where, in the gym, most people are like, oh, slow and controlled is great. And there's a time and a place for slow and controlled, just like there's a time and a place for speed and power, right? Think Olympic lifting and things like that. So some of our workouts, and this isn't all of them, some of our workouts, we like to sort of teeter on that brink of am I going so fast that my form is breaking down? And if I am, let's dial it back, bring it back in. But if I'm not working so hard that my form is being challenged, is there room for a little bit more? And that's where that crazy adaptation comes in. And that's the thing that I love about CrossFit. And that's why I've been doing this for 13 years now. It's gotten me personally to the best body composition, as well as conditioning, strength, power, all of those things, as well as hundreds of clients that I've worked with over the last 12 years, is that, with that change in adaptation, we can spend less time in the gym, less time actually working out, and maximizing those benefits and those results.
Right, and that efficiency of it is, that's the key for some people, right? You only have 3 hours a week to work out. How do you fit in 2.5 hours of conditioning and 2 lifts in 3 hours?
I just had this conversation with a guy. He came in to do an in-body scan. He's trying to drop some body fat, and he loves cardio, but he knows he needs the weights. And he's like, Chris, I just don't have time to do both. And I'm like, well, Carlos, it's great, because one of the things that I love personally is CrossFit, because it allows me to do both. So you don't have to just get on the treadmill and run. You can do, 5 rounds of, say, 10 push-ups, 10 air squats, keep going back and forth, upper body, lower body. I'm building muscle. I'm getting that conditioning that you spoke of, get your heart rate up either zone 2 or higher, and I'm building muscle. So I love the fact that you can do cardio and strength training in a short amount of time, and you leave here feeling great.
Right.
So I think that one of the things that people like the most about our collaboration together is that people appreciate the fact that we're so health focused and really we care.
Yeah.
We want people to live their best life. We want people to be the best father, the best mother, the best daughter, whatever the case might be, and have a sense of confidence in life and have a sense of self-esteem. And we focus on so much more than just fitness. It's just a holistic approach. We're talking, like you said, about sleep, about stress, about support systems, about the other 23 hours a day people aren't in the gym, because that's what matters the most. And if we can help people build better habits outside the gym, it's obviously going to show when they come in here. Right.
And like you said, unfortunately that, the buzzword is the holistic approach, right? Like where you're focusing on everything instead of the knee or the bicep or whatever we're trying to grow or improve or decrease the pain. But that holistic approach is just the approach. Like it shouldn't have to have that label, but whether it's in our fitness industry being so saturated or in the medical field, unfortunately being in the position it's in right now, where a lot of practitioners just don't have the time of day. And it's not an excuse, but the way that it is, we're very saturated. There's less providers than are available for patients, and they're not being reimbursed enough. So they have to see people very rapidly. And it's that everyone's had the experience where you're on the conveyor belt and you move through. And whether it's a specialist or your primary care or a PT or someone else, they don't seem to be listening all the way. They miss out on details, and they unfortunately are just very locked in on a specific thing, and they're not, again, viewing you as the whole person, regardless of whatever pain or whatever else you're dealing with. And that, again, holistic approach should just be the approach. But that's what I think you guys have here. That's what we do with our appointments. We do these hour-long sessions. And honestly, for a lot of my sessions, the first at least 5 minutes, but if not longer, 5 to 15 minutes, it's just interview. It's just me figuring out where you're at since last week or your last session or whatever. And I need to know what has changed, what has improved, what has gotten worse. Things like progress isn't linear in rehab, fitness, and anything. So there's gonna be bad days, bad weeks, setbacks, and that's not bad or wrong. That's not something that we have to avoid. We just have to learn to ride that wave, you know? So again, that's why I'm so passionate about getting people over here when they don't have a home yet. Getting people into the right community is such a big deal to me, because we can only help so many people the way we're set up and the space that we have, and this space is super helpful to the community and to the people that you have here already. And I believe in what is done inside these walls and how it helps people outside of these walls.
And yeah, I mean, let's be honest, David, right? Some people spend an hour in the gym, some people only have 10 minutes in the gym. Mm-hmm. But the real challenge is the other 23 hours in the day. Right? That's where the stress comes in. That's where sleep comes in. That's where having good support systems around you, people that share the same goals and visions as you, come into play. And, you know, one of the things we love to do here outside of just CrossFit, a lot of people just see the name CrossFit 696 and they think they do CrossFit, but one of the things we really love to do is help coach people in those other 23 hours out of the day. And that's where, if you look behind me, you'll see nutrition on the logo there. Mm-hmm. That's where that term nutrition comes in. Really what we're talking about there is the other 23 hours in the day. How much sleep are you getting? How much activity are you getting? How much stress are you under and how are you managing it? How much water are you drinking every day? You know, those are the things you can spend all the time you want. You can spend 3 hours in the gym. Mm-hmm. If you're not sleeping good, and you're not getting adequate protein, you're not going to build the muscle you want to build. Right. Plain and simple.
And that's something we touch on a bunch with any patient or client that comes in with us too, but we talk to them about, I can do all the manual therapies, I can do any exercise, I can tweak all your programming as best as we can, but if that environment isn't one that promotes healing, you're going to stay in this inflammatory phase and you're going to continue to pick that scab, we call it, right?
Yeah.
So like it doesn't ever let that initial wound, whether it's actually an injury or it's a chronic pain or whatever, it doesn't let that go through that inflammatory response. It doesn't let it heal, and you just can't recover. And the recovery is where you get the results from the gym. The gym itself, yes, you need to get that insult to the muscles and the body and the system, but if you don't recover from that insult, you're just breaking it down. You're not actually building anything back up. So that recovery in the sleep, the food that we're putting in our body, and our mental and emotional state, it's huge. And that all is helped by community and good coaching. If you need that and you need that accountability, you need help with something, that's what you do. You reach out to someone. Ideally, a friend, a family member is helping you out too, so that the more people in your camp that we were just talking about, the more people in your camp that are doing the same things as you, the easier it is to stick to it, hold each other accountable, and just ultimately get the results that you're looking for. Because not everyone's on a weight loss or a weight gain journey. Nobody cares. Not everyone cares about the number on the scale. But again, let's be less likely to die. Right? Let's be robust humans here.
And let's be honest, 9 out of 10 times we're going to face some kind of challenge in our life, whether it's health, whether it's some outside force. So at the very least, if we're not, let's not die.
Right.
And let's put ourselves in the best possible position to put up a fight.
Right. My favorite go-to joke whenever someone says, "You're trying to kill me when we're doing an exercise," I know I'm trying to make you harder to kill.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what we're trying to do here. So I know you guys are doing that here. Like anytime someone's looking for a gym and they're in this Gardner area, I tell them right away, like, my first choice, Fitness Concepts, CrossFit 696, like this group here, they will help you. If you don't know what you like, they will help you figure that out. And if for some reason it's not your flavor, cool, let's talk. Let's figure out something else. But very seldom would that ever happen, and I've never had anyone say that, right? So there's obviously all the different things that you have to consider when you're choosing a gym, but I'm of the opinion that, like amenities and some of those things matter, but mostly the community of a gym is something that's going to help you get the best results out of it. I think one of the things that we run into when people are trying to find a gym, like if they're not someone who is actively lifting when they come in for physical therapy, or actively in a gym at all, we try to promote that. That's one thing that we start from day one talking about, like, right now we're gonna help you through this. Eventually we want you to take this onto your own and go into the gym and take these concepts carried over into your life. If you need us in the future, great. If you need us ongoing, great. But we want you to be independent with your fitness and take some ownership over this. And one of the things that there's a few things people struggle with when they're trying to find a gym that fits them. And obviously part of it is cost. That's always something that people are worrying about or wondering about. And I tell them all the time, like, if all you want to do is go headphones on, head down, and get your workout done, Planet Fitness works fine. It's the cheapest you can go, and you're going to do all the purple machines and you don't care, right? They won't let you drop the weights. They only have a Smith machine. So if that works for you, great. If you're trying to like get into a rhythm and be around like-minded people, that's not the place. Because Planet Fitness's business model is they hope you don't come. They want to take your money and you're not there. Because people forget about $15 a month. Mm-hmm. You don't forget about a more solid investment in your health and your wellness, right? And obviously I'm biased. We're in this field, right? But I truly believe there's no better investment you can make than in your own body. Because it's the only thing you're truly stuck with forever.
That's right.
You're stuck with this body. Everything else you can replace, you can't really replace this. Even the joint replacements, it's still in there.
Well, and I think you alluded to this before, training is rehab is training to some degree, and that's why I think it's so great that we have a partnership with a professional like you who cares so much about seeing people get back into the gym or get into the gym for the first time, because, rehab is just that first step to begin training for the rest of your life. Yeah, and to your point, like that continuum of fitness, like rehab is on one end and athleticism is on maybe another, but anywhere along that line those movements can look similar, especially as we get pain under control and stuff. And unfortunately what happens, like just in the way our medical system is set up, there's a hierarchy of who has most merit, who's going to be listened to the most and respected in their opinions and stuff, and that's totally okay. But sometimes we get the click box prescription for physical therapy or any other thing that's 2 to 3 times a week for 6 to 8 weeks. Almost every single one I've ever gotten has that exact thing. There's no way that every single malady that someone is dealing with fits in that little box. Really?
Right? So we default to a 12-week plan of care because 6 to 8 weeks is the very minimum you need to actually see any kind of hypertrophy or strength changes that are truly happening on the physiological level. You'll get some neuro adaptations, you'll get those other things earlier, but beyond that 6 to 8 weeks is when the real stuff happens. And so sometimes people are hesitant to commit to something for that long, and they say, well, what if I feel better before that? I say, good. That's the good part. Now we get to the good stuff. I hope you're pain-free tomorrow so we can actually do all the things that matter. That's still rehab, right? That's still training. So that's really what I like to open that door to people is you don't have to be in pain to be in PT. You don't have to be out of pain to be in the gym. Pain is a part of the human experience, and anyone who's selling you a pain-free life is selling snake oil. You have to know what pain is. You have to understand what it is. What is pain that you have to respect and deal with and see a professional with and help you? And what pain can you manage and modify and work with and, be perfectly healthy?
And I think it's really great to hear you say that. We have a lot of the same conversations with new people coming through our doors. Everybody thinks that, we're going to get in shape for that cruise 3 weeks from now or that wedding in a month from now and we're going to be where we want to be and that's it. But in the reality of it is it's a lifetime.
Right.
It's a journey, and I tell everyone, the first 1 to 3 months, you're really just scratching the surface. You're learning what the term AMRAP means. You're learning what BBJO stands for and what, a pike push-up is. Your head spins, and it's a lot to take in. And then after that 3 to 6 month mark, you start to understand the terms. And we tell everybody, we're not going to add any intensity until we understand the movements and what we're expected to do. We can't add speed to something that we're not efficient with. Yeah. So we start everyone with very lightweight or no weight and work on those mechanics and technique for 3 to 6 months, literally, before we start to encourage any type of intensity, load, or volume.
Yeah. And I mean, off of that too, like when we have someone coming in off of injury or in pain, sometimes we have to do that, right? So we call it finding the entry point. So, good example is somebody who has back pain. They often will have trouble with deadlifts, squats, like those bigger movements. Sometimes they can do a different activity that loads all those muscles up and doesn't put that same amount of stress on the back. Or sometimes, for the deadlift, one of my favorites, because people get very afraid, especially if you've had a really bad back episode.
Absolutely.
I get afraid, right? It does not feel good. It is very debilitating. So they don't want to go back to a deadlift because maybe it happened even during the deadlift. So now that movement is associated with that and that fear is there. But when you can kind of build someone's confidence, so kind of to your point, I like to go unloaded, lighter things, slower, all that. But then at the same time, I like to introduce that speed and introduce that heavier stimulus that they're afraid of, because then when they do it and it doesn't hurt, that confidence that they get from it, right? So we find any number of modifications we can make to the standard deadlift off the ground. We can do rack pulls, we can do RDLs, we can do hip thrusts it's still a hinge pattern, it's just unloaded for the back for the most part. It's a lot of glute and hamstrings at that point. Correct. So we can still keep that hinge pattern loaded, maintain as much strength as possible while we're working through some issues, and then again, just build confidence and build resilience instead of making people feel weak and that they shouldn't be doing things and fearful of movement. I think any practitioner or coach or friend or family member that's trying to tell you to avoid certain movements or something like that, it's coming from a place of goodwill. They're trying to help you. But it's sometimes, I think, the most harmful advice that you can get, where you're just then afraid to move.
Yeah.
And then you can't take that step forward.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go lift up 300 pounds right now, right? But you have to make some progression. You have to continue to move forward.
I can't help but think back to, I had a client, this was years ago, she was doing CrossFit and she had reached out to cancel her membership because she had inflammation in her knee. She had an MRI, everything looked fine. The doc said, you have some inflammation in your knee, don't do anything except walk.
Right.
And I'm certainly not going to interject and discard what the doctor told her, but at the same breath, there's so much more that she could have done, I feel like, outside of just walking. I'm not saying she needed to keep doing CrossFit, but the beauty of what we have here is the ability to do so much more than just CrossFit. And as you mentioned, resistance training is an essential part of life, and should be as we get older, to maintain muscle mass as well as bone density and all those things.
Yeah, absolutely.